Sing, goddess, of the wrath of Achilles, son of Peleus, that destructive wrath which brought countless sufferings upon the Achaeans, and sent many valiant souls of heroes down to Hades, while making their bodies prey for dogs and all the birds. Thus the will of Zeus was fulfilled, from that first moment when the two stood apart in strife. Atreus' son, lord of men, and godlike Achilles. Which god was it then who drove the two to clash in bitter strife? The son of Leto and Zeus. For he, enraged at the king, sent a dreadful plague sweeping through the army, and the people perished, because the son of Atreus had dishonored Chryses the priest. For he came to the swift ships of the Achaeans to ransom his daughter, bringing boundless ransom, holding in his hands the sacred ribbons of far-shooting Apollo upon a golden staff. And he implored all the Achaeans, but especially the two sons of Atreus, commanders of the host. Sons of Atreus, and you other well-grieved Achaeans, may the gods who dwell in Olympian halls grant that you sack Priam's city and return safely home. Release my beloved daughter to me, and accept the ransom, showing reverence for the son of Zeus, far-shooting Apollo. Then all the other Achaeans voiced their approval, that they should respect the priest and accept the splendid ransom. But this did not please Agamemnon, son of Atreus, in his heart. Instead he dismissed him harshly, and laid upon him a stern command. Let me not catch you, old man, by the hollow ships either lingering now or returning again later, lest the scepter and sacred headband of the god fail to protect you. Her I will not release, before old age overtakes her in our house in Argos, far from her homeland, tending the loom and sharing my bed. Now go. Do not provoke me further, that you may depart unharmed. Thus he spoke, and the old man feared and obeyed his command. He walked in silence along the shore of the thundering sea. Then going apart, the old man offered many prayers to Lord Apollo, whom fair-haired Leto bore. Hear me, silver-bowed god, you who protect Chryse and sacred Scylla, and rule with might over Tenedos, Sminthean Apollo. If ever I built a temple pleasing to you, or if ever I burned the rich thigh-pieces of bulls and goats in your honor, grant me this prayer. Let the Danaans pay for my tears with your arrows. Thus he spoke in prayer, and Phoebus Apollo heard him. Down from the peaks of Olympus he came with rage in his heart, bearing on his shoulders his bow and covered quiver. The arrows rang out upon the shoulders of the wrathful god as he set forth. He came like the night itself. Then he took his seat apart from the ships, and let fly an arrow. A terrible twang rang out from the silver bow. First he attacked the mules and swift dogs, but then, sending forth a sharp arrow against the men themselves, he struck them down, and constantly the funeral pyres of the dead burned thick and fast. For 9 days the god's arrows swept through the army, but on the 10th day Achilles summoned the people to assembly. For white-armed Hera, the goddess, put this thought in his mind, for she cared for the Danaans, seeing them perish. When they had gathered and come together in assembly, swift-footed Achilles rose among them and spoke. Son of Atreus, now I think we shall be driven back and return home again in our wandering, if we can even escape death, since war and plague together are overwhelming the Achaeans. But come now, let us consult some seer or priest, or even a dream interpreter, for dreams too come from Zeus, who might tell us why Phoebus Apollo has grown so furious with us, whether he reproaches us for some unfulfilled vow or sacrifice, hoping that he might accept the rich smoke of lambs and unblemished goats, and ward off this plague from us. Having spoken thus, he sat down. Then among them rose Calchas, son of Thestor, by far the best of augurs, who knew what was, what would be, and what had been before, and who had guided the Achaean ships to Troy through his prophetic art, which Phoebus Apollo had bestowed upon him. With their best interests at heart, he addressed the assembly and spoke. Achilles, beloved of Zeus, you bid me speak of the wrath of Lord Apollo the far-shooter. Therefore I will speak. But you must make a pact, and swear to me that you will willingly help me with both words and deeds. For I believe I shall anger a man who holds great power over all the Argives, and to whom the Achaeans are obedient. For a king is mightier when he rages against a lesser man. For even if he swallows his anger on that very day, still he nurses his resentment afterward until he brings it to fulfillment in his heart. But tell me whether you will save me. Then swift-footed Achilles answered him and spoke. Take heart and speak boldly whatever divine prophecy you know. Know, by Apollo beloved of Zeus, to whom you Calchas offer prayers when revealing divine prophecies to the Danaans. While I live and see the light upon this earth, no one among all the Danaans shall lay heavy hands upon you beside the hollow ships, not even if you should name Agamemnon himself, who now claims to be by far the greatest of the Achaeans. And then at last the noble prophet took courage and spoke. He finds no fault with prayers or with hecatombs, but because of the priest whom Agamemnon dishonoured, he neither released his daughter nor accepted the ransom. For this reason the far shooter has given sorrows, and will give them still. Nor will he drive away the shameful plague from the Danaans, until the bright-eyed maiden is given back to her dear father without price or ransom, and a sacred hecatomb is led to Chryse. Only then, by appeasing him, might we persuade him. Having spoken thus, he sat down. Then among them rose the hero Agamemnon, son of Atreus, wide-ruling, grieving. His dark heart swelled with mighty rage, and his eyes blazed like gleaming fire. First he addressed Calchas, glaring at him with malice. Prophet of doom, never yet have you spoken anything favourable to me. Always you delight in prophesying disasters, but never have you spoken a single good word, or brought any good thing to pass. And now among the Danaans you prophesy and declare that the far-shooting god brings them these sufferings for this very reason, because I refuse to accept the splendid ransom for the maiden Chryseis, since I much desire to keep her in my home. Indeed, I prefer her even to Clytemnestra, my wedded wife, since she is her equal in every way, in body and stature, in mind and accomplishments. But even so, I am willing to give her back, if that would be better. I want the people to be safe, rather than to perish. But prepare a prize for me immediately, so that I alone of all the Argives shall not be without honour, for that would not be proper. For you all see that my prize is going elsewhere. Then swift-footed godlike Achilles answered him, Most glorious son of Atreus, greediest of all men, how can the great-hearted Achaeans possibly give you a prize? Nor do we know of any common treasure stored away in abundance. But what we have plundered from the cities has been distributed, and it would not be proper to call upon the troops to gather it all back again. But you must now surrender this girl to the god. But we Achaeans will repay you threefold and fourfold, if Zeus should ever grant us to sack Troy's well-walled city. Then Lord Agamemnon answered him and spoke. Do not thus, noble though you are, godlike Achilles, try to trick me with cunning, for you shall neither outwit me nor persuade me. Do you want me to sit here empty-handed while you keep your own prize, and yet you command me to give this one back? But if the great-hearted Achaeans give me a prize, choosing one according to their hearts, so that it shall be of equal value. But if they refuse to give me one, then I myself will take a prize by force, either yours or Ajax's or Odysseus's, going and seizing it myself. And whoever I approach will be furious with me. But we shall deliberate on these matters again later. Now come, let us drag the black ship into the shining sea, gather suitable rowers aboard, place a hecatomb within, and make fair-cheeked Chryseis herself embark. Let one man serve as leader and counsellor, either Ajax or Idomeneus, or noble Odysseus, or you, son of Peleus, most formidable of all men, so that he may appease the far-shooter by performing the sacred rites for us. Then swift-footed Achilles looked at him from beneath his brows and spoke. You shameless one, clothed in greed! How can any of the Achaeans willingly heed your words, whether to march on campaign or fight fiercely in battle? For I did not come here to fight because of the Trojan warriors, since they have done me no wrong. Never have they driven off my cattle or horses, nor ever in fertile, life-sustaining Phthia. Have they ravaged the crops, since truly many things lie between, shadowy mountains and the echoing sea. But we followed you, you utterly shameless one, so that you might have joy, winning honour for Menelaus, and for you, Dogface, from the Trojans. Yet you pay no heed to these things, nor do you care. And now you yourself threaten to take away my prize, for which I toiled greatly, and which the sons of the Achaeans gave to me. I never receive a prize equal to yours, whenever the Achaeans sack a well-inhabited Trojan city. But my hands bear the greater burden of fierce warfare. But whenever the spoils are distributed, your prize is far greater, while I return to the ships with something small yet precious to me, exhausted from battle. But now I am going to Pythia, since it is far better to sail home with my curved ships, nor do I think you will amass wealth and riches here, while I remain dishonored." Then Agamemnon, lord of men, answered him, "Go ahead and flee if your heart drives you to it. I certainly won't beg you to remain on my account. There are others beside me who will honor me, and above all Zeus the counselor. You are the most hateful to me of all the god-nurtured kings, for strife and wars and battles are always dear to you. If you are truly mighty, it is some god who gave you this strength. Go home with your ships and your own companions and rule over the Myrmidons. I care nothing for you, nor do I fear your wrath. But I will make this threat to you. Just as Phoebus Apollo takes Chryseis from me, I shall send her back with my ship and my companions, but I myself will come and take fair-cheeked Brises from your hut, your prize, so that you may learn well how much I surpass you, and so that any other man may shrink from claiming to be my equal and matching himself against me." Thus he spoke. Anguish seized the son of Peleus, and within his shaggy breast his heart was torn in two as he deliberated whether to draw his keen sword from his thigh, scatter the assembly, and strike down the son of Atreus, or to check his rage and master his fury. While he was pondering these things in his mind and heart, and drawing his great sword from its sheath, Athena came from heaven. For white-armed Hera had sent her forth, loving both men equally in her heart and caring for them. She stood behind him and seized the son of Peleus by his golden hair, visible to him alone. But none of the others could see her. Achilles was amazed and turned around, immediately recognizing Pallas Athena. Her eyes blazed terribly upon him, and speaking to her, he addressed her with winged words. "Why have you come again, child of Aegis-bearing Zeus? Have you come to witness the arrogance of Agamemnon, son of Atreus? But I will tell you this, and I believe it shall come to pass. Through his arrogance he may well lose his life before long." Then in turn the goddess grey-eyed Athena addressed him. "I have come from heaven to stop your rage, if you will obey. White-armed Hera sent me here, loving and caring for you both equally in her heart. But come now, cease this strife and do not draw your sword. But go ahead, reproach him with words as surely will happen. For I declare this to you, and it shall surely come to pass. And some day 3 times as many splendid gifts shall be yours on account of this insult. But you restrain yourself and obey us." Then swift-footed Achilles answered her in reply, "One must obey the word of you 2 goddesses, even when the heart burns with anger. That is the better course, for whoever obeys the gods, they truly listen to him." So he spoke and stayed his heavy hand upon the silver-studded hilt, thrust the great sword back into its sheath, and did not disobey Athena's word. She departed for Olympus, to the palace of Aegis-bearing Zeus, among the other immortals. But the son of Peleus immediately spoke again to the son of Atreus with bitter words, his anger still unabated. "You wine-soaked coward, with the eyes of a dog and the heart of a deer, you have never dared in your spirit either to arm yourself for battle alongside your people or to join the best of the Achaeans in ambush. That seems like death to you. Yes, it is far more profitable to seize the prizes of anyone who speaks against you throughout the broad army of the Achaeans, you people-devouring king, since you rule over worthless men. For then, son of Atreus, this would now be your final outrage. But I will tell you this, and swear a mighty oath. Yes, by this sceptre, which shall never again bear leaves and shoots, since it first left behind its severing in the mountains, nor shall it flourish anew. For bronze has stripped away its leaves and bark. Now in turn the sons of the Achaeans bear it in their hands as judges, those who safeguard the ordinances established by Zeus. This shall be a mighty oath for you. Truly, longing for Achilles will come upon all the sons of the Achaeans. Then you will be powerless to help, grieved though you are, when many fall dying beneath man-slaying Hector. But you will tear your heart within, raging that you gave no honor to the best of the Achaeans." Thus spoke the son of Peleus, and he cast his sceptre to the earth, studded with golden nails, and seated himself. And on the other side the son of Atreus raged in fury. Then among them rose sweet-spoken Nestor, the eloquent orator of the Pylians, from whose tongue flowed speech sweeter than honey. 2 generations of mortal men had already passed away in his time, those who had grown up alongside him and been born in sacred Pylos, and now he ruled over the 3rd. With their best interests at heart, he rose to speak and address them. Oh no, what great sorrow comes upon the Achaean land! How Priam would rejoice, and Priam's sons, and all the other Trojans would exult in their hearts if they learned of all this strife between you two, who excel above all Danans both in counsel and in battle. But listen to me. You are both younger than I am. For I have indeed consorted with men who were mightier even than you, and never did they scorn me. Never have I seen such men, nor shall I see their like again. Perithous and Dryas, shepherd of peoples, Caeneus and Exadius, godlike Polyphemus, and Theseus, son of Aegeus, equal to the immortals. Those men were indeed the mightiest of all mortal men that the earth ever nurtured. They were the mightiest of men, and fought against the mightiest foes, wild beasts that dwelt in the mountains, and utterly destroyed them. And indeed I kept company with them, having come from Pylos from afar, from a distant land. For they themselves summoned me, and I fought with all my might against those warriors. None of the mortals who now live upon the earth could fight. And they truly understood my counsel, and heeded my words. But you too must listen, for it is better to obey. Do not take away this girl, noble though you are, but leave her as the sons of the Achaeans first gave her to him as a prize of honor. Nor should you, son of Peleus, seek to strive against a king in direct confrontation, since a scepter-bearing king never shares in equal honor, one to whom Zeus has granted glory. Even if you are mighty and a goddess bore you as mother, he is still superior, for he rules over more men. Son of Atreus, you must check your rage. But I myself entreat Achilles to abandon his wrath, he who serves as a mighty bulwark for all the Achaeans against the evils of war. Then Lord Agamemnon answered him and spoke. Yes, indeed, old man, you have spoken all these things quite properly. But this man wants to be superior to everyone else, wants to rule over all, to lord it over everyone, and to give commands to all, which I think some will not obey. But if the eternal gods made him a warrior, does that mean they encourage him to hurl insults? Then glaring at him from beneath his brows, godlike Achilles answered him. Indeed, I would be called a coward and worthless if I should yield to you in every matter, whatever you might command. Give these orders to others, but do not command me, for I think I will no longer obey you. But I will tell you another thing, and you take it to heart. I will not fight with my hands for the girl's sake, neither against you nor anyone else, since you who gave her to me have now taken her away. But as for the other possessions that are mine beside my swift black ship, you could not take and carry off a single thing against my will. But come then, make the attempt, so that these men too may witness it. Soon your dark blood will flow around my spear. So the two, having battled each other with hostile words, rose up and dissolved the assembly beside the Achaean ships. The son of Peleus departed to his huts and well-built ships, accompanied by the son of Menoetius and his companions. But the son of Atreus launched a swift ship into the sea, selected 20 rowers for it, loaded aboard a hecatomb for the god, and brought beautiful-cheeked Chryseis on board, and resourceful Odysseus embarked as their leader. Then they embarked and sailed over the watery paths, while the son of Atreus ordered his people to purify themselves. They purified themselves and cast the pollution into the sea, and they offered perfect sacrificial hecatombs to Apollo of bulls and goats beside the shore of the barren sea. The savoury smoke reached heaven, swirling upward with the flames. So they busied themselves with these matters throughout the army. But Agamemnon did not abandon the quarrel he had first threatened against Achilles, and he addressed Talthybius and Eurybates, who served as his heralds and ready attendants. Go to the hut of Achilles, son of Peleus, take her by the hand, and lead away fair-cheeked Briseis. But if he refuses to give her up, then I myself will come and take her with a larger force. That will be all the more bitter for him. So speaking, he sent them forth, laying upon them a stern command. The two went reluctantly along the shore of the restless sea, and they reached the huts and ships of the Myrmidons, where they found him sitting beside his hut and dark ship. Nor was Achilles pleased at the sight of them. The two stood there in fear and reverence for the king, neither addressing him nor asking him anything. But he knew them in his heart, and spoke. "Greetings, heralds, messengers of Zeus and of men alike, come closer. You are not to blame at all, but Agamemnon is, who sends you both on account of the girl Briseis. But come, noble Patroclus, bring out the girl and give her to these two to lead away. Let these two serve as witnesses before the blessed gods, before mortal men, and before that ruthless king, if ever again there comes a need for me to ward off shameful ruin from the rest. For truly he rages with destructive thoughts, and knows not how to consider both what lies ahead and what lies behind, so that the Achaeans might fight in safety beside the ships." So he spoke, and Patroclus obeyed his dear companion. He led beautiful-cheeked Briseis out from the hut, and gave her to be taken away. The two then returned to the ships of the Achaeans, but the woman went with them against her will. But Achilles wept, and immediately sat apart from his companions, withdrawing to the shore of the grey sea, and gazing out upon the boundless deep. Many prayers he offered to his beloved mother, stretching out his hands. "Mother, since you gave birth to me destined for so brief a life, honour at least should Zeus the high-thundering Olympian have bestowed upon me. But now he has not honoured me even in the slightest. For Agamemnon, son of Atreus, the wide-ruling king, has dishonoured me. For he has taken and keeps my prize for himself, having stripped it from me." Thus he spoke weeping, and his noble mother heard him as she sat in the ocean's depths beside her ancient father. Swiftly she rose from the grey sea like mist, and sat before him as he shed tears, touching him with her hand as she spoke, and called his name. "My child, why do you weep? What sorrow has come upon your heart? Speak freely, hide nothing in your heart, that we both may know." Then swift-footed Achilles answered her with a heavy groan. "You know. Why should I recount all this to you who already know it? We went to Thebes, the sacred city of Eetion, sacked it completely, and brought all the spoils back here. The sons of the Achaeans divided the spoils fairly among themselves, and they selected for the son of Atreus fair-cheeked Chryseis. Then Chrysis, priest of far-shooting Apollo, came to the swift ships of the bronze-clad Achaeans to ransom his daughter, bringing boundless ransom gifts, holding in his hands the sacred ribbons of far-shooting Apollo upon a golden staff, and he implored all the Achaeans, but especially the two sons of Atreus, commanders of the host. Then all the other Achaeans cried out in approval that they should respect the priest and accept the glorious ransom. But this did not please Agamemnon, son of Atreus, in his heart. Instead, he dismissed him harshly, and laid upon him a stern command. Enraged, the old man departed once more. Apollo heard his prayer, for the priest was very dear to him, and he loosed a deadly shaft upon the Argives. The people were dying in ever greater numbers, and the gods' arrows ranged everywhere throughout the broad encampment of the Achaeans. And a seer with sure knowledge declared to us the prophecies of the far shooter. At once I was the first to urge that we appease the god. But then anger seized the son of Atreus, and swiftly rising, he uttered a threat that has now come to pass. For the bright-eyed Achaeans are sending her back to Chryse with a swift ship, and they bear gifts to the Lord. But the other girl the heralds have just led away from my hut, the daughter of Briseis, whom the sons of the Achaeans gave to me. But if you have the power, protect your own child. Go to Olympus and entreat Zeus, if you have ever aided his heart through word or deed. For many times in my father's halls I have heard you boasting how you alone among the immortals warded off shameful ruin from dark-clouded Cronos' son, when the other Olympians wished to bind him, Hera and Poseidon and Pallas Athena. But you, goddess, came and freed him from his bonds, swiftly summoning the 100-handed one to vast Olympus, whom the gods call Briareus, but all mortals call Aegaeon, for he surpasses even his father in might, who sat beside the son of Cronos, exulting in his glory. The blessed gods feared him as well, and bound Zeus no more. Now remembering these things, sit beside him, and clasp his knees, if perhaps he might be willing to aid the Trojans, and drive the Achaeans back to their ships and along the sea while they are slaughtered, so that all may reap the benefit of their king, and that wide-ruling Agamemnon, son of Atreus, may recognize his blind folly in dishonoring the best of the Achaeans." Then Thetis answered him, pouring down tears, "Alas, my child, why did I raise you after bearing you for such grief? If only you could have stayed by the ships free from tears and grief, since your destiny is so brief and far from long-lasting. But now you are both doomed to die young and most wretched of all. So it was to an evil fate that I bore you in my halls. But I myself will go to snowy Olympus to speak this word to Zeus, who delights in thunder, if he might be persuaded. But you now, staying beside the swift ships, rage against the Achaeans and withdraw completely from battle. For Zeus went yesterday to Ocean among the noble Ethiopians for a banquet, and all the gods accompanied him. On the 12th day he will return to Olympus again, and then I will go to Zeus's bronze-floored house, clasp his knees in supplication, and I believe I will persuade him." So speaking, she departed and left him there, his heart seething with anger over the fair-belted woman they had taken from him by force against his will. Meanwhile Odysseus arrived at Chryse, bringing the sacred hecatomb. When they reached the depths of the deep harbour, they furled the sails and stowed them in the black ship, then quickly lowered the mast to its crutch by slackening the forestays, and rowed her with oars into the anchorage. They cast out the anchor stones and made fast the stern cables. They too stepped out onto the sea's shore, and brought forth the sacred offering of 100 beasts for far-shooting Apollo. And Chryseis stepped from the seafaring ship. Then resourceful Odysseus, leading her to the altar, placed her in her dear father's hands, and addressed him. "O Chryses, Agamemnon, lord of men, has sent me to bring your daughter back to you, and to offer a sacred hecatomb to Phoebus Apollo on behalf of the Danaans, that we might appease the Lord, who has now brought grievous troubles upon the Argives." So speaking, he placed her in his hands, and he joyfully received his beloved daughter. Then they quickly arranged the sacred hecatomb for the god in proper order around the well-built altar, washed their hands, and took up the barley grains. Then Chryses offered up a mighty prayer, raising his hands. "Hear me, silver-bowed god, who protects Chryse and sacred Scylla, and rules with might over Tenedos. You did indeed hear me once before when I prayed, honoring me and bringing great affliction upon the Achaean host. And even now fulfill this wish for me. Now ward off shameful destruction from the Danaans." Thus he spoke in prayer, and Phoebus Apollo heard him. But after they had prayed and scattered the barley grains, they first pulled back the heads and slaughtered and flayed the animals, then cut out the thigh bones and covered them with fat in double layers, placing raw meat upon them. The old man burned them on split wood and poured dark wine over them. The young men stood beside him holding 5-pronged forks in their hands. But when the thigh pieces had burned, and they had tasted the inner parts, they cut up the rest into small pieces, and pierced them on spits, roasted them carefully, and drew everything off. But when they had finished their work and prepared the feast, they dined, and no one's heart wanted for anything of the shared banquet. But when they had satisfied their desire for drink and food, the young men crowned the mixing bowls with wine, and distributed it to all after making the first libation in the cups. All day long they appeased the god with song, the young Achaeans singing a beautiful paean in honor of the far shooter. And his heart was delighted as he listened. When the sun had set and darkness fell, then they lay down to sleep beside the stern cables of the ship. When early born, rosy-fingered dawn appeared, then they set sail back to the broad host of the Achaeans. Then far-shooting Apollo sent them a favourable wind. They raised the mast and spread the white sails, and the wind filled the mainsail, while all around the dark purple wave roared mightily against the prow of the speeding ship. She raced through the waves, cleaving her course. But when they reached the broad encampment of the Achaeans, they hauled the black ship up onto the shore, high up on the beach, and set long supports beneath her. They themselves dispersed among the huts and ships. But he raged beside the swift ships, divine-born Achilles, son of Peleus, swift of foot. Never did he go to the assembly where men win glory, nor ever to war, but he wasted away his dear heart by staying there, and he yearned for both the war cry and battle. But when the 12th dawn had risen since that time, then all the ever-living gods went together to Olympus, with Zeus leading them. But Thetis did not forget her son's entreaties, and she emerged from the ocean's wave. Through the air she ascended to the great heaven and Olympus. She found the far-seeing son of Cronos sitting apart from the others on the highest peak of many-ridged Olympus. She sat before him and grasped his knees with her left hand, while with her right she took hold of his chin from below, and in supplication addressed Zeus, son of Cronos, the Lord. "Father Zeus, if ever I have aided you among the immortals, whether by word or deed, grant me this wish. Honor my son, who is destined to die youngest of all. But now Agamemnon, king of men, has dishonored him. He has seized and keeps his prize, having stripped it away with his own hands. But you yourself honor him, Zeus of Olympus, master of counsel. Meanwhile grant victory to the Trojans, until the Achaeans honor my son and restore his rightful glory." Thus she spoke. But Zeus the cloud-gatherer gave her no answer at all, but sat in silence for a long time. But Thetis, having grasped his knees, clung there steadfast, and questioned him a second time. "Give me a true promise and nod your assent, or else refuse, since you have nothing to fear, so that I may know full well how I am the most dishonored of all the goddesses." Then with great vexation Zeus the cloud-gatherer addressed her. "This will surely bring trouble, making me an object of Hera's hatred when she stirs me to anger with her reproachful words. She constantly quarrels with me among the immortal gods, and claims that I aid the Trojans in battle. But now, go back again, lest Hera take notice. But I shall take care of these matters until I bring them to pass. But come, I will nod my head so that you may have confidence. For this is the greatest pledge from me among the immortals. For whatever I confirm with a nod of my head cannot be taken back, nor is it deceptive, nor will it go unfulfilled." So he spoke, and the son of Cronos nodded with his dark eyebrows, and the ambrosial locks flowed forward from the immortal lord's head, and he made great Olympus tremble. Having deliberated thus, the two parted ways. She then plunged into the deep sea from shining Olympus, while Zeus returned to his own dwelling. And all the gods rose up together from their seats before their father. None dared remain seated as he approached, but all rose up to meet him. Thus he took his seat there upon his throne. Nor did Hera fail to notice when she saw him that silver-footed Thetis, daughter of the sea's ancient lord, had conspired with him in council. At once she addressed Zeus, son of Cronos, with taunting words. "Which god now has conspired with you in council, you schemer? It is always your pleasure to be apart from me, making judgments while harbouring secret thoughts. Never yet have you willingly told me a single word of what you have in mind." Then the father of men and gods answered her, "Hera, do not expect to know all my words. They will be harsh for you, wife though you are. But whatever is fitting for you to hear, no one thereafter, neither god nor mortal, shall learn of it before you. But whatever I choose to contemplate apart from the gods, do not question me about such matters, or press me for details." Then ox-eyed, queenly Hera answered him, "Most terrible son of Cronos, what sort of word have you spoken? Indeed, I have never before questioned you or made inquiries, but have remained quite content while you deliberate on whatever you wish. But now I am dreadfully afraid in my heart that silver-footed Thetis, daughter of the sea's ancient lord, may have swayed you with her words. For at dawn she sat beside you and clasped your knees. I believe you truly nodded in agreement to her that you would honor Achilles and destroy many Achaeans at their ships." Then Zeus the cloud-gatherer answered her, "You strange creature, you always suspect me, and nothing escapes your notice. Yet you will accomplish nothing at all, but will only be more estranged from my affections. And that will be all the more terrible for you. But if this is how it must be, and is destined to be pleasing to me, but sit in silence and obey my command, lest all the gods who dwell on Olympus be powerless to help you when they draw near, once I set my unstoppable hands upon you." So he spoke, and ox-eyed Lady Hera was afraid, and she sat in silence, her dear heart bending to his will. The heavenly gods grew troubled throughout the halls of Zeus. Then Hephaestus, the renowned craftsman, began to address them, offering gentle words to his beloved mother, white-armed Hera. "This will surely lead to ruinous deeds that are no longer bearable, if you two keep quarrelling like this over mortals and stirring up tumult among the gods. There will be no joy in our noble feast, since the baser things triumph. But I counsel my mother, though she understands well enough herself, to speak kindly to our dear father Zeus, lest he quarrel again and throw our banquet into chaos. For if the Olympian wielder of lightning should choose to blast us from our seats, for he is by far the mightiest. But you should address him with gentle words. Then immediately the Olympian will be gracious to us." So he spoke, and springing up, he placed a two-handled cup in his dear mother's hand, and spoke to her. "Bear it, my mother, and endure though you are troubled, lest I see you being struck before my very eyes, dear as you are to me, and then I shall be powerless to help you, grieved though I may be. For the Olympian is dangerous to oppose. For once before, when I was eager to defend you, he seized me by the foot and hurled me from the divine threshold. And I was carried through the air all day long, and when the sun was setting, I crashed down on Lemnos with scarcely any life left in me. There the Sintian men immediately cared for me after my fall." So he spoke, and the white-armed goddess Hera smiled, and as she smiled, she took the cup from her son's hand. Then he served wine to all the other gods, moving from right to left, ladling sweet nectar from the mixing bowl. Then unquenchable laughter arose among the blessed gods as they watched Hephaestus bustling throughout the palace. So all that day until the sun went down, they feasted, and their hearts wanted for nothing of the shared banquet, nor of the exquisite lyre that Apollo held, nor of the muses who sang in turn with lovely voices. But when the bright light of the sun had set, they went to sleep, each to his own home, where the renowned lame-footed Hephaestus had built a house for each with his skilful craftsmanship. But Zeus, the Olympian wielder of lightning, went to his own bed, where he had always slept whenever sweet sleep overtook him. There he ascended and slept, with golden-throned Hera beside him.